I wanted to say that it's been a real delight, not just to be here for this week, but to sit and listen to the other contributions that we've all heard this afternoon. I observed something going on with the audience that I find quite rare. You know that you can have a Haydn symphony where sometimes the players leave the stage, and I've seen some audiences on some occasions do that very gently and very slowly. On this occasion, this audience has grown as the event has gone on. I would assess that we're now about double the size that we were when we started about an hour ago. So they put me on fifth in the effort to try and make certain that you all now go and do something else very, very quickly. We will see if that works. But it really has been a delight to listen to all the other contributions. Can I just say something about this International Cooperative Year that we have been marking and celebrating over the last few days, some indeed partying into the wee small hours for more nights than we would care to remember, or our bodies can actually also survive. The International Year was kicked off a year ago this week in New York at the United Nations. And I think that there were a few of us cynical and jaundiced old people who thought to ourselves, oh God, another year for the United Nations. What's it going to do this time? Well, I think actually what it's done is to remind this cooperative movement around the world what it is for. I believe that the year, in the way in which we have marked it and celebrated it, has enabled us to renew our confidence in ourselves and in the model that we present. And I seriously believe that this is a turning point for the cooperative movement in this world. It comes also at a point where domestically in this country, we've been talking for the last 2 or 3 years about the renaissance of the cooperative. And certainly I have to say to you, as a representative of the cooperative bank, that certainly over the last few years, there has been a flood of trust towards the model that is presented by the cooperative, not least with many, many, many hundreds of thousands of people deciding that they were really, I was going to say something quite vulgar then, really fed up with the other banks and have decided to shift their money and their accounts to us. So, this is the culmination of a year. But the Global Development Fund that I want to speak about is a way of saying this year cannot just be about co-operators scratching each other's backs and being nice to each other. It cannot just be about having nice international occasions where we scurry around the world and we have nice conferences and where we say nice things to each other all the time. That ain't good enough. We really do have to leave a legacy, and a legacy that is sustainable for as many years as the cooperative movement keeps on growing and keeps on building. And this, in this year, is one of those legacies. Like many of the very best ideas, the Global Development Co-operative is a profoundly simple one. What we want to do is to leverage the strength and the generosity of the cooperative family in the developed world to help facilitate growth and expansion of the cooperative model in the developing world. And everybody will say amen to that. Why would anyone ever want to dissent from such a wonderfully simple and splendid idea? I'll tell you later. Quite simply, the Global Development Co-operative wants to do this. We want to gather investments from the cooperative family, quite modest ones actually. We've asked major co-ops to put in a minimum of $250,000. Some of you here could do that individually, I'm sure, especially Mr. Hazen there on the platform from the States. But if you can't, as members of co-ops, we certainly can. And once we have received that funding from cooperatives and from other interested international organisations who want to support the model, we will then package and distribute those funds in affordable loans to cooperatives seeking to grow and develop in the developing world. And I mean at affordable rates. One of the worst plagues that affects cooperatives in the developing world is rapacious capitalists who try to make certain that they get the highest possible rate out of them when they offer them a loan. And actually securing capital at a decent price is nigh on impossible for many of our colleagues in cooperatives around the world. The loans from this fund will be offered at between 1% and 2%. We think that is just about affordable, and it also covers the margins that we need in order to make certain that we staff the thing and run it effectively. You heard from Joseph from Kenya, I think by implication, about the problems of getting capital to actually sustain a cooperative. We want to make a difference, and we want to make certain that our colleagues have the funding that they need to invest in new machinery, to modernise their co-ops, to help provide them with storage facilities, to help provide them with decent transport, whatever the state of the roads, and to combat the nonsense of land grab that's going on around so many countries, particularly in Africa. Our aim in this first phase is to concentrate upon agricultural cooperatives in Africa and to make certain that we do our best in that particular sector. We've set ourselves a target of raising $50 million by the end of 2013. Doesn't sound like very much, really, does it? But actually, it would be profoundly useful if we're able to do that, and if we're able then to cycle those loans to those who need them. When it comes to distributing them, I'm very pleased to say that we have a very good and effective partner now in Nedbank in Africa. Some of you will know that a few years ago, the cooperative bank here was named by that great radical journal, the Financial Times, as the world's most sustainable bank. And then they changed the rules, and then we became Europe's most sustainable bank. Well, Nedbank is now Africa's most sustainable bank, and therefore shares many of the values and principles that we do. And we are working with them on how we will distribute these funds in Africa especially. We want to help cooperatives, but we want to recognise that there is a looming and massive food crisis. Paul talked about that when he started with his first speech today. We've had talks this week with the Director General of the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. He was here at the opening ceremony to speak, and he used the opportunity at a breakfast meeting at 7:30 in the morning, I have to say, which some of us found a deeply ungodly hour, but never mind. We went to the meeting and did the business. We are going to enter into a partnership between the ICA and the FAO to collaborate and work together on this particular plan. As well as the provision of funds, we also want to make certain that technical assistance is provided. I found it fascinating just this week, talking with colleagues from different co-ops around the world. Colleagues from Brazil, from Korea, from Canada, from Finland, just this week. I was asking them for money, and most of them said they would, but it was not just money. Many of those colleagues, and many in this audience, have a deep knowledge and skill which is transferable. And the cooperatives that we already have need to also offer not just their funding, but the skills they have in technical assistance. But if there is one thing I want to say about this, it is this. It is so easy for co-operators to miss the wood for the trees. We do like going to meetings and talking about minutiae, about issues of governance, about all the things that are necessary and right, but failing to see that there is sometimes a much bigger picture of what needs to be achieved. You have heard with considerable passion today a number of people speak about the acute and appalling need of people who are dying of hunger. They die each and every day. All of us are well fed. All of us don't need to even contemplate living on $1 a day. All of us and all our cooperatives are well funded. I want a message to go from this conference that this cooperative movement needs to harness the passion that has been there for the last 150 years and which needs to carry us forward, that we have a contribution to make and we can make it, and this is one of the ways of doing it. And it is a passion about righting gross inequalities and gross wrongs within our world. And one of the ways is addressing the issue of food and supporting agricultural cooperatives. So please harness that passion. We have raised a lot of money. We have a long way still to go. If you happen to represent or you are a member of a cooperative anywhere in the world which has got just a few $100 million stashed away in its assets, and I have to say to you that there's an awful lot that have, I want you to go from here and harass your boards. That's not in the script, by the way, and they will tell me off later on for saying it. But I want you to harass your boards. Harass your boards for the sake of global justice and the simple need to feed people. Because this is the time when we need to act. I believe that this is an important initiative for all of us to get behind. I urge you to do your part to support it and to persuade those who control purse strings and who have the wherewithal to make certain that it succeeds. Thank you.